This podcast is sponsored by Imtra. For a user-friendly, fully automatic trim control system at an affordable price, look no further than a zip-wake system from Imtra. With over 60,000 systems in use worldwide and hundreds of boat builders installing them on new builds, zip-wake is proven to improve the ride of almost any powerboat from 16 to 110 feet. Imtra's full-time team of product experts are available to answer your zip-wake questions, so visit imtra.com or give them a call to get started. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Power Motoryacht podcast. I have a very exciting interview today with author John Bacon for his new book, which I feel really kind of honored that I got to see an advance copy of. The book is The Gales of November, The Untold Story of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And I'm fresh off finishing finishing your book last night, actually, but it was fascinating. It truly gripped me. It gripped me from the start, and I know it's going to resonate with our audience. So I think what I wanted to start with, John, now this is going to be hard because you just spent 400 pages talking about this, but could you give us a brief synopsis for those that might not be familiar with the story of the Edmund Fitzgerald, just a little background on the story, if you don't mind?
Sure. And as you know from reading the book, Dan, and I appreciate that, that we use the Edmund Fitzgerald to kind of explain, the Great Lakes, because people really don't know, unless you've been on them, just how big these things really are. Lake Superior is as big as the state of Virginia. People don't know that.
Right.
Big as the country of the island of Ireland. That's gets your attention. But anyway, so these gigantic ships, 700 feet back then, 730 feet in the case of Edmund Fitzgerald, which is a 73-story skyscraper. That's how long these things really are. They would haul 26 long tons of taconite, about 500 million pounds. It's crazy. It's the equivalent of 4,000 adult elephants on your ship, and that's enough. Taconite, by the way, is iron infused clay, and these little pebbles. I got some right here. In fact, I hadn't even thought of that. How about that, Dan?
Wow, let's see it.
That's a taconite pebble.
Oh, amazing!
Put several hundred million on your ship, and it's going to weigh a lot more.
Yeah.
And they would carry enough of that stuff to build 7,000 cars per ship. So that's how much they were running. Back in this time in 75, when the ship went down, they had 300 of these ships on the Great Lakes. Now it's about 100. But that's when the big three auto companies, Ford, GM, and Chrysler, were at the peak of their powers, naturally. So this was the economic epicenter of the world. From 45 to 75, this was Silicon Valley, which is hard to believe now, of course, Rust Belt and all that. But it was. Right. So Fitzgerald was the best of the best. It was the longest, one of the fastest, could hold the most. It was also the best appointed by all accounts. VIPs loved going on that ship. The crew loved being on that ship. They had the best captain, Ernest McSorley. They had the best crew. This is not my opinion. These are the opinion of the people you've read about in the book. It's amazingly consistent. They also had the best food, by the way. Their galley was the best.
That helps.
Stainless steel, and back when not many things were. And the meals were phenomenal. I've had some of these meals, not on the Fitz, but other ships. You gain 5 pounds per 4-day trip. Trust me. It's
amazing.
So anyway, they're doing all this great stuff.
Yeah.
This night on November 9th and 10th, 75, the Gales of November, it's called that for a reason. This is when the worst weather hits the Great Lakes, not in December or January, but November, because the water is warm and the air turns cold, and that creates waves. And you also have the Alberta Clipper coming in from Canada, a cold front, dry. That's very common that time of year. What was not common was another hurricane, basically, coming up from California that was hot and wet. So cold and dry, hot and wet. These two things are going to crash over Lake Superior. And I'm talking to a sailor crowd. In your crowd, you guys understand, you watch the weather very carefully.
Absolutely.
Back then they couldn't. The National Weather Service didn't have this kind of equipment, kind of communication equipment either to tell you about it. So they're out there in 30 or 40 foot waves, incredibly, possibly 50 and 60 feet waves, which is nuts. They're freeboard, and you guys know that term. They only had about 10 feet outside the water on a good day. This is not a good day. So they're getting 25 footers coming right over green water, right over the deck. Bad stuff. And of course, it finally goes down around 7:10 on Monday night, November 10th. All hands lost, 29 men. And then, of course, Gordon Lightfoot creates the song on this, which is why we're still talking about it, frankly.
Yeah.
That's what the song did. The song was number 2 in 76. We got 2 chapters, as you know, on the song. The song almost didn't get made. Its creation was very unlikely. And then its success was also unlikely and surprised Lightfoot himself. He didn't expect it. So that's what we're still talking about this. And the 50th anniversary comes up this fall.
Amazing. What a great introduction. What attracted you to this project to begin with? Because it's clear reading the book. I mean, this must have been years of research and a true labor of love. What caught your attention and made you want to sink your teeth into this?
I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and my grandfather had a place on Torch Lake, which is 20 miles by 2 miles. It's a great freshwater lake. I guess that, as most of them are, I guess. In northern Michigan, which leads into Lake Michigan. So I spent my summers on the Great Lakes. I knew something about them. Yeah. I didn't know how little I knew, Dan, until I started researching. But you grow. I was 10 years old when I went down. This is part of my culture. We all talk about it. The song still plays on the radio stations around here, maybe out there too. So it's part of it. But then I realized I knew so little about it. And the more I dug into it, the more I realized, man, there's an amazing story here that no one's told. And when we say the untold story of the Edmund Fitzgerald, as you noticed in the subtitle, the untold part here, 2 factors. One, I got to 7 families who could tell me about their uncles and their fathers and their cousins and so on in great detail. And I also got 6 guys who actually were on the ship. And they're not making more of those guys, obviously. The ship went down in 75. So those guys could tell me how the ship functioned in bad weather and so on, what the crew was like, what the captain was like, all this great stuff. Forget who writes it. The story I came across was amazing. And you're right, it took me 3 solid years. It's the hardest book I've ever written. And the football books I've written in the past take me about a year. My wife and I were saying, why did this one take me so long? And she said, because you didn't know anything.
Well, I would imagine the burden of responsibility, right?
I had to learn, fetch, all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. I got to think the responsibility and burden to get this story right. And the research is just, is really incredible. My favorite thing about the book is you really kind of combine a number of genres. There's the history of the Great Lakes and shipping, how the ship was built, and the history there is fascinating. My favorite part as a fellow storyteller is the anecdotes of the crew, the captain and crew themselves, and you weave it in such a great way where it's just woven in. It's woven in so well, and you really get such personal stories of different crew and of course the captain. And without certainly without, you wouldn't spoil it, but by the end of the book, I felt like I knew these guys. Some of them, I was like, I can't imagine what it felt like for you. You must really have just know these characters. Which one stuck with you the most? And I'm sure they're all powerful for different reasons, but which character did you just connect with maybe the most?
That's really good. By the way, listeners, I do hundreds of interviews per book usually. This is my first one on this book ever.
Let's go.
So, Dan, you're the first guy
to go.
Questions. I don't have my talking points down at all, so this is
that's
wild and organic,
okay.
People. So heads up.
That's what we like. We like honest. And,
good question. Certainly the easy answer is probably Ernest McSorley. He's the one I spent the most time with in terms of trying to learn him, his mindset. He was, without question, the best captain on the Great Lakes, beloved by his crew, deeply respected. I had the best crew on the Great Lakes, in part because he's such a great leader. Yeah. And yet he's a Greek tragic figure. He's paid to deliver taconite. And he had a reputation for going in all kinds of weather. We have no record at any point of his long career, 40-some years, of ever turning around, of ever hiding behind an island for a few hours. He doesn't do it. He just goes. Yeah. That's kind of tragic. And then, oddly, that night, he shows 3 points of caution. And this was going to be his last trip, and 5 of the guys in his crew, their last trip. Their wives are waiting for them to retire in Toledo 2 days later. And that's clearly heartbreaking.
I think that's the most gut-wrenching part of certainly. Like you get to know Ernest through Captain McSorley through the book, and it's like that. This was his swan song. This was gonna be it. That's what makes this thing made for a movie. It's that element is crushing.
We're getting some talks about that, but you're right. And he added this last trip to get the bonus he needed to pay for his wife's health care. He's a noble. That's a noble instinct. He's not being greedy. So that adds to the tragedy for sure. But that night, he showed 3 points of caution, which he had previously not. One, he first decides to follow behind the Anderson, which is still, I've been on the Anderson, they're still out there. So he follows behind. That's not his normal instinct. He's competitive. Two, they take the northern route instead of the usual straight across Lake Superior route. It adds 14 hours to their trip, which is not what he normally does. But in doing so, the shoals, the islands, all this stuff is less familiar. And that might have cost him there too. Third thing he did is once he knows he's taking on water and it's listing, as you guys know that term, of course, he decides to wait about an hour for the Anderson to catch up. And that crucial hour might have been the time they needed to get to Whitefish Bay. So I love this guy and I feel for him. And it's just tragic what happens to him. My second favorite guy, I liked them all. And it's a very likable crew, luckily. It truly is. But Bruce Hudson, he's the 22-year-old at the opposite end of the spectrum. He's a deckhand. It's his second summer. He just dropped out of Ohio State. He's in forestry. He's probably going to go back, but he's making good money. Cool dude, funny guy. He was an Eagle Scout and also a motorcycle rider, a very unusual combination of traits. He had this badass Dodge Challenger waiting for him at the dock in Toledo to go on a cool road trip to Colorado and California and so on with his buddy, Mark, on the ship as well. And in the meantime, of course, he discovers that his waitress girlfriend in Toledo, Ohio, is pregnant. So after that road trip, he's going to come back and be a dad, and they're going to get together. And that, of course, never happened.
That's a great choice too. I think I would say the same. It's
But who is yours? Go ahead, Dan. Fire it up. I'm curious. Dan, you're my first reader, dude.
I know. It's it's so lame. I don't want to say the same ones, but no, his story, and then because you have the story from the girlfriend's perspective is so powerful. I think that one stuck with me. That stuck with me too for similar reasons. And the captain was of course great. You painted them all in such great pictures. That's a lame answer, but no, I think
I'll take it, brother. I'll take it.
I think I agree with you. Well, let's see. So let's get to certainly the climactic ending. And you did such a great job of explaining, and I think boaters can understand this. Everyone wanted to know why did it sink? That's the number one thing. What took this thing down? And you made it clear and helped me understand that it's never one thing. It's a series of things. And I don't know that in anything I've ever seen or read on the subject that was ever conveyed so well. It was like, this led to, maybe loading up too much taconite, and that led to this, which led to the flexing. Maybe sidebar. Can we talk about the flexing of these ships for a second? Because that to me was just unbelievable. Really.
It's an amazing thing about the ship. Now look, my parents have got a 20-foot Sea Ray. I've been water skiing and boating my whole life, but what am I? I'm clearly a piker compared to your readers and your listeners.
No.
So I do have to pass as muster with those guys. I had very smart nautical experts go over this thing 4 and 5 and 6 times to make sure I got all the specifics. Let's hope, knock on wood, just right. But I had to learn a lot. Your readers all know what fetch is. They all know all this stuff, what freeboard is, and so on.
Sure.
So I had to learn a lot. The construction of the ship in 1957-58 was revolutionary. Usually Great Lakes ships are the last ones to adapt to new technology, but in this case, they're at the forefront, and that comes with a price. No one else, you're the pilot fish, man. You're out there first. So instead of making it all on site at the Great Lakes Engineering Works, they had 3 sections of the ship, modular, and brought them together by ship to the dock in Detroit. And then they, instead of using rivets on a lot of it, they used welds, which at the time was unusual. Well, that makes it rivets are stronger. Sorry. And this, therefore, it became, in the captain's own view, and other guys have said it as well, the limberest ship he's ever seen. That's a made-up word, but you get the idea. Something called the catwalk. This runs 700 feet. It's right below the deck. It runs along the sides of the ship. And I've been on these catwalks, and freak me out a little bit.
I would think I would too.
If you're claustrophobic, this is not for
Not
you.
for me. It's not for me.
Exactly. It's like what one guy called a 700-foot coffin. You walk through this thing when the weather's nasty and you can't be on deck. You go to the galley or whatever, to the engine room by the catwalk.
Yeah.
And okay, you got these old-fashioned lights hanging down and so on. This thing flexed so much over 700 feet that when you're in heavy waves, the light would disappear at the end of the catwalk. It's crazy, the tunnel.
That line stuck with me.
Yeah.
Right, that was pretty early on in the book, I believe, when you were talking. You're looking down this tunnel, walking down the ship, and you can't see the front of the ship goes out of sight.
That's gonna get I'm not a sailor like you guys, but that has got to get your attention.
I don't think you need to be a sailor to know that is not what you.
It ain't normal. The ship was unusual that way, so that's one problem. Next problem you got, the way these ships are designed anyway. All these ships, they're super long, they're thin, and they have flat bottoms with no keels. Why is that? Why would you design a ship like that? The answer is very simple. It's the Soo locks in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. That is the hinge from Lake Superior to Lake Huron. So this is the bottleneck, and you have to design a ship to carry as much taconite, as much iron as you can, and still get through this thing. So you care about three things, right? How much you can carry, get through the locks, and make it as safe as you can. Guess which one comes third?
The third one. Yeah, exactly.
So engineers don't say all these things. Obviously, the sailors do. So in heavy weathers, these things are miserable because they're too long. They're so long, you can get stuck in one wave and then have your stern in the other wave with, 400 feet empty.
Great point.
It starts sagging during these things. It can crack in half because there's nothing supporting the hull. It's the bow in one, the stern in the other, and you're screwed. So that's one possibility for what happened. That's another problem with the design of the ship. Then you load up too much taconite on this thing. They always cheated in the Plimsoll line. That's the line you get, how far in the water your ship's allowed to go. It's about 39 feet tall, if you will. And they were allowed at first 14 feet of freeboard, out of the water. But then the regulations changed in 69, 71, and 73. And now you're allowed 11 feet. So you just chopped off 3.5 feet for no good reason, really. They did not change the design of the ship. It's not designed for this. So that's another problem. You have too much iron on this thing. And then, of course, all the crappy weather happens. The radars go out. The radio beacons go out. One thing after another, and possibly, we can't quite prove it, they might have hit the shoals of 6 fathom shoals. And you guys probably know what a fathom is, 6 feet. 36 feet shoals, really around 11 or 12 feet in some spots, right by Caribou Island, miserable little pile of dirt. But there's a good chance that McSorley might have bottomed out on that in the middle of Lake Superior, which is otherwise 1,300 feet deep, as deep as it gets. So anyway, all these things add up. And as many of my experts said, as you already hit upon, a ship like this rarely goes down for one reason. It tends to be problem after problem. Dominoes start falling, and then they start multiplying. Then you have these two crazy storms come in, once in a lifetime storms, and it all compiles from there. But the best quote I've got is from Bruce Hudson's mom, Ruth Hudson, Aunt Ruth, the amazing Aunt Ruth, who said, "Only 30 know what happened to that ship, 29 men and God, and no one's talking." So I'm not.
I had that line. I was gonna say that line was amazing, and actually perfect segue, because that was the question I was gonna have is. Yeah, that line. 30 people know what happened. The 29 crew and God is what a powerful mic drop line. How much of the mystery aspect drew you to this project? That was
Quite a bit.
People, the legend, the mystery.
Right.
It does have it all.
You can see that tall, thin bookcase behind me. It's 4 shelves.
Yeah.
It is filled with about 60 or 70 books in this subject. So there's my problem. Most of the books on the subject tend to focus almost entirely on the mystery of what happened.
Right.
Mine includes that, but that's not the focus per se.
Right.
As you know, as I said in the acknowledgments, I cut this. It's 380 pages or so. I cut it in half. So I saved you a ton of reading there. And a big chunk of that was on the investigation, what might have happened, and so on. So I realized that is my story. And I think we advanced the conversation. We have more proof than has been published before about the odds of him being on the shoals. And and what that looks like. We have some more evidence and so on. So we do, I think, forward the topic pretty well, but I don't think we close the case,
Right.
and nor is it trying to exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What fascinated me is what already fascinates your listeners and your readers. This nautical lifestyle about which I knew shockingly little. Again, I'm a casual recreational boater, not in your reader's category by any means. But I've been around those guys and so on in the lakes, and they're always pretty impressive to me. But this whole industry exists. As one of the guys said, look, man, everyone knows the farmer and the miner and the factory worker, but nobody knows the sailor. But you know what? The cement in your basement and the iron in your car, the steel in your car, and the food on your table all comes from us.
Wow.
And it's 9,000 people, and you never meet them because they're on the lakes 9 months out of the year. And they're only 9,000 anyway. So no one knows about these guys. So I was just fascinated by the lifestyle. Who does this kind of work? Why is it so important? What's it like? Do they get seasick themselves? Et cetera. Do they get lonely? And they do. As John Tanner said, when they go to the jukeboxes of all the Great Lakes bars, and I've been to a few of these, Dan, strictly for research. It's called.
Of course, you're a journalist. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm with
hard-hitting investigative journalism is all I'm doing here. By the way, there's some great bars. The sailors who watch your podcast, they would love them.
I don't know if you had to go back every week, John, but you are relentless. So we give you that.
Dedicated. Thank you. We call it dedication.
I know it.
There are 2 songs you're going to hear in every bar. There are 167 ports on the Great Lakes. And in every damn one of those things, I guarantee you that 2 songs will be in that jukebox. One is The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
And the other one is Brandy, You're a Fine Girl, all about, the sailor, of course, and she's the bartender waiting for him to come back. And as John Tanner said, a lot of the songs we loved were about homesickness. It's part of the deal.
Yeah. IMTRA is a 100% employee-owned company committed to bringing best-in-class products, expert product knowledge, and unparalleled support to the entire marine industry throughout North America since 1952. No, it was not easy living. The one last thing on the boat. I don't even know if I want to talk about it so much as just give you a compliment, and I hope I don't butcher the line. But when you were talking about back to the bending, was it a paperclip analogy where it was like, so imagine a paperclip, you bend it up and down so many times, eventually it gets weakened. I think that was just like a really great line that helped illustrate what was potentially happening with.
I'm glad to hear that.
That was.
Keep in mind, I'm a landlubber. I can't.
That helped me. That helped me get it. I was like, oh yeah, I know paperclips.
Some of the analogies, I'm a teacher by trade. And
I can see that.
I work in analogies, connecting what you don't know to what you do know. Take a paper clip and you bend it back and forth enough times, it is going to snap.
Right.
Not immediately, not for a long time, but the flex in the ship that you wisely have homed in on. If you keep doing this all night long with 26,000 long tons, you're taking your chances. And another one that someone else liked, the following sea. Sounds pretty good. The waves are behind you and they're pushing your car forward, pushing your ship forward. But it's like a tow truck pushing your car forward on the ice.
Right.
You don't control much.
Right.
And your sailors will know what I'm talking about.
Totally. No, that's another good one. So I'm curious what the reaction, because again, makes your book so special is these stories of the characters and the crew. This is digging up some old wounds for the families and friends and all these people you interviewed. What was their reaction? There has been so much press and books done. What was their reaction? Were they happy to talk to you? Were they reticent?
Great question, by the way.
A little probably in between, right?
A smart one. I got lucky on this project more times than I can count.
Okay.
Just lucky. It took me 3 years, as we've said, 3.5 about by now, I guess. And I just kept on getting lucky. Bruce Lynn is an Army captain, proud Buckeye graduate, and I'm a proud University of Michigan graduate. So we're not supposed to be friends at Ohio State and Michigan, but he is the director of the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum in Whitefish Point. They're the ones who have the bell from the Edmund Fitzgerald in their museum. It's a phenomenal museum. It's 15 miles away from where the ship is, which is hard to get to in a way, but trust me, if you can get there, get there. It's an amazing place. Very popular. He holds an anniversary every year on November 10th for the families only. It's private, families and friends. And I started going to those at his request, at his invitation. He introduced me to the family members whose trust he had gained over the years. Now, look, there are a lot of grifters out there, people trying to tell screwy stories and sell all kinds of stuff. And look, I am trying to sell a book, undeniably. But their trust factor is not very high with people, nor should it be after all these years.
Yeah.
So he introduced me to them. And my deal as a journalist is unusual. Anything we talk about, I'll send you your quotes back before they go out to make sure I got them right. Make sure that what you want on the record is on the record, and what is not is not. And we went through a cycle 5 or 6 times with 10 or 12 family members, and these people were phenomenal. Look, they are the heart and soul of the book. Right. No question. The book is dedicated to them. They don't know that yet. I'm looking forward to that. To the men on the ship and their families, this truly is their story, as I say. And they were nice enough, trusting enough to give me that story. And I do not do jokes about Edmund Fitzgerald. You'll see lines about the song and so on Twitter when I post something occasionally. And I wouldn't do jokes, I think, anyway. But I definitely cannot do jokes. Once you meet these people, look, they lost their dad when they're 12. You think that still doesn't hurt? I mean, of course it does. They lost their cousins. They lost their uncles. They lost people they loved and cared about, and in the most tragic way possible. Right. And they have been imagining the last few minutes their whole lives. Most of them have had dreams about this for a year or two afterwards, nightmares. You can't let it go. So these people are the heroes of this book, and I got lucky again and again and again of how much they've helped me. And I like to think, and I think they'll support me on this one, we've become good friends. People I trust, people I care about a great deal. And they're all in the book. And I don't think they've talked to anybody for a book, at least, or anything else before this officially. So all that material is new. And they were kind enough to share it with me and trust me with their stories.
Do you think they were happy to share it in many cases? You talk about the access, and obviously they did share these powerful stories. You think for some of them, was there a piece of them that wanted to talk about it, that wanted to keep the memories alive?
Great question. And I didn't answer part of your question earlier about were they reticent? They were still, despite Bruce. I had to prove myself, and we had to meet, and you have to meet face to face. And we're meeting at Whitefish Point at the crew's cabin at the big old butcher block kitchen table and so on. Legendary to those people. And that's when we started building this bond. But it was, it was built month by month and year by year, very slowly. Now I think we're pretty close. But it was slow. And it's slow for a lot of reasons. They've had their stories bastardized a lot of times, gotten wrong a lot of times. A lot of stuff online is just flatly wrong, things that I didn't realize were wrong until I knew more. So they're reticent about that. But there was part of them that felt that this might be their best chance to have their stories be told in full, connected to other things. And what Deb Champeau, the daughter of the great Buck Champeau, one of the engineers on the ship, what she said was touching to me. I never realized how important my dad's work was until we started doing this book. What his job was specifically, but also what he contributed to the rest of the team, and what this team does. Like the guy said, the cement, the steel, the food on your table. It's Great Lakes shippers who do this, and that feels really good to me. It's kind of the reaction they had to the song itself. At first, they were leery of it. What's the guy doing, and so on. And then they realized, you know what, this is their legacy, and Gordon Lightfoot was very respectful to them, as you know, he's a hero in the book. The song is accurate, 98% accurate. And he cared a great deal about the people, and they became lifelong friends themselves. So he was my model for how you handle this.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect segue. I did want to talk about the Gordon Lightfoot song. It's how I knew the Edmund Fitzgerald, right? I mean, it is you look at some of the. I just pulled it up after reading the book. You just had to listen to it again, and it was there's many different versions or iterations, millions and millions of listens, and people commenting as like yesterday the Gordon Lightfoot song was getting comments. So he really did an incredible job. I mean, it's a haunting ballad, fitting of a song like that. Did you ever get the chance? Did he pass? Did you ever get the chance to connect with him? Did he pass away?
He passed away during my research, sadly. He was still doing concerts. Right? I saw him in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And man, he's 83, 84 years old. He's on stage for 90 minutes, standing up and delivering. He was great. I mean, it was impressive. I saw him in passing through a friend, gave him my previous book on the Great Halifax Explosion. He's Canadian, so that can help.
Yeah, for sure.
Somewhat similar to this in some ways. And we had some correspondence a little bit, but I didn't get to him. He got sick, and then died pretty quickly. But I did get to his drummer, Barry Keane, and his bass player, Rick Haynes. And they're both phenomenal. And, from their contributions, we've become friends in the process. And I'm going to be speaking at the Gordon Lightfoot Days in Orillia, Ontario, October 30th and 31st of this year coming up. And those guys filled in a lot of blanks. But I did not get to Gordon Lightfoot himself, and I'm obviously sad about that. But he luckily did give a lot of interviews about this.
Right.
So he wouldn't have said a whole lot different than what I already had probably. Whereas to get into the drummer and the bass player, I might not have done. Lightfoot was still around. So that was, in some ways, it was generous of them to fill in. And they were great about it. But what your listeners should know and your readers, Gordon Lightfoot was a real serious sailor. He did the Port Huron, Michigan to Mackinac Island race. I've done that race. It's a 3-day race. It'll test you, 2-3-day race. He was legit. He had sailed on Lake Superior. So he had this feeling for the sailors that I can't imagine almost any other songwriter would have had. And that's why I think it rings true with sailors and non-sailors alike. The families love the song. And again, it's he painstaking detail from the Newsweek article that came out, from the Associated Press article that came out, both of whose authors are still alive. More lucky breaks. They're in their 80s. And they both talked to me for this, what went into those stories. And the lines from those stories ended up in the song. So he did his homework. He took it seriously. When a couple of things proved to be inaccurate, he changed those lyrics and performances.
Oh, wow.
I wish I'd met him for real, but you'll feel like you did when you finish the book. I do feel like I did. Yeah. And without that song, there is no book. There's no question.
It's just so well said. And so much of Gordon Lightfoot's, I didn't know him outside of the Edmund Fitzgerald song, but you made it clear. I mean, this guy was a star in his time, but now his identity and his legacy is so intertwined with this one song. It's incredible. And I love, sidebar note, you talking about there was a newspaper article, I think it was in the Associated Press after the sinking. And as a good writer would, you give, pay respect where it's due. That short piece in the Associated Press was really such an inspiration for him. And it just seemed like that was so well written. What a memorable, would be just like kind of a throwaway clip, less than 600 words.
You're a writer, what that means.
Cool. Yeah. It was like poetry.
That is light, serious stuff. The guy's name is Harry Atkins, a longtime Associated Press reporter. He covered sports in the state of Michigan for decades. I sat next to Harry Atkins in the Detroit Red Wings press box for years. I had no idea that years later I'd be pulling out and it says Harry Atkins, Shazam.
Yeah.
Call up. Is he still alive? He is, and doing great in his 80s. And that's where I got lucky also. What happened repeatedly, Harry Atkins for the Associated Press drives up there overnight with a crazy photographer. He does a much better job in that story than he had to. This is before cell phones, internet. I mean, that's old school journalism. He cared about it a great deal. Jim Gaines of the Newsweek, University of Michigan grad, friend of a friend, got lucky there as well. Yeah. He also cared about it more than he had to and did a beautiful job on that, again, compact piece. And then Gordon Lightfoot, he cared about the song more than he had to. And I think readers smell that. I think listeners get that. So that came through again and again. And again, Lightfoot's love of sailing helped drive this as well.
It's something about it. The through line for all of this between you, Gordon Lightfoot, everybody, it's the story is like magnetic. It's just like it attracts you to it and just it grips you. And that's what your book did out of the jump. So, just again, can't recommend enough. The Gales of November, The Untold Story of the Edmund Fitzgerald. John, can you share a little bit where can we find the book? Where's the best place to connect with you? And
Sure. Thank you for that. Any bookstore should, by October 7th. If your bookstore does not have it, I have screwed up.
Okay.
Independent bookstores, I'm speaking to them in the process. They're already excited about it. They made The Great Halifax Explosion a bestseller. Yeah. Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Obviously, Amazon has got it. It's already a featured selection, I believe.
Yep.
Kirkus Reviews just came out, and they give us a top 10, top 10% starred rating, which is good. So it could be anywhere. johnnubacon.com is where you can find more about the book and more about me.
Yeah.
And we've also got a podcast coming out of that as well. If you're not careful, Dan, I'll be pulling you on that as well, because you know more about boats than I do. So,
well, I'd be happy to. It was really, I do feel like, again, I feel honored to have been able to get an early copy. Last thing I wanted to touch on, and you hinted at it very briefly. I was a little bit saying in jest, this, I think this should be a movie. Or I mean, it deserves something. The way you built the characters, was just, and your description of everything. It felt like a movie. Is there any hopes, desires? Is there anything in the works that we're going to see more on this?
Great question. We're getting a lot of nibbles early on. I'm at William Morris, which is big in LA, of course. They run about a third of Hollywood. So we're getting a lot of attention already. When the book comes out is when it's going to hopefully happen, that kind of thing. I did try to write the book. Jim Bernstein is one of my writing mentors. He did Mighty Ducks 3. He did Renaissance Man, some other good stuff.
Oh, sweet.
He's helping turn my previous book, Let Them Lead, into a movie script, hopefully. So we're working on that. But I took his class about 20 years ago when I was a Knight Wallace Fellow, journalism fellow at the University of Michigan. So I took 2 semesters of that. That's when my bestsellers started. I had 3 books out already, no bestsellers. I started writing my books like screenplays. Scenes, characters, conflicts. You can't just write 3 pages about what the engine is like. People have to interact with it to make you care about it. So scene, where's the camera pointing, characters, who shows up, what are they like, and what's the conflict? If you don't have all 3, you have a boring page. And this book has got to pass what I call the Bacon flip-through test, Dan. And I'm doing it right now. You pick it up and go to any page, and it better grab you. You can't write 3 or 4 pages of explanatory stuff and expect to hold their attention. My advice there comes from the great Elmore Leonard, who's a friend of mine. He did Be Cool, Get Shorty, Out of Sight, all these great novels that became big movie hits with Tarantino and John Travolta and so on. He said, that boring stuff that you skip in a book? I said, yeah. He goes, I cut that out. That's how you do it. So hopefully Hollywood hops on that bandwagon. We'll see. The odds seem already pretty decent. We're getting a lot of bites already. So who's gonna really bite first? We'll see. But what I really do hope, if it goes that direction, is that whoever gets it does it right. I know these families. It's their fathers. I mean, the wives, the sons, and the daughters. Just like Lightfoot stinks. I know these people.
You know what the film would remind me of, and it's not just because it's a tragic tale, but it's hard to not make comparisons to The Perfect Storm. I think where it's that was
that book is right here to my right, as you might imagine. So. Yeah,
I mean how he built the characters too, and I do think I saw the movie, then read the book years later. I think both seem to do it justice.
They did.
I think so. I
agree with you.
You can see that it could be done.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it can be done. I think that was a good example of an incredible book and a movie that maybe took some liberties at times, but was pretty raw, pretty real.
Look, I mean, Sebastian Junger is the author of that book. He did a great job. I've read it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
It's not an accident. We had some of the same problems, that there are no survivors on his ship. There are no survivors on the ship that I'm studying.
Exactly.
So what do we know? Now, luckily, he had to conjecture a lot more than I do. That we know a fair amount about the ship, and we've got data and so on. We know where it is. We've studied it. No one knows where the Andrea Gale is. So he's got a real problem. But he pulled it off, obviously. And that was his first book too, I believe. We have the same publisher, W.W. Norton, so that helps.
Oh yeah, okay.
My team, we're on his team 30 years ago, which is pretty amazing.
Wow.
I never met Sebastian Junger. I've got no contact with him. But he did a hell of a job, and it's clearly the model for a book like this. There's no question about that. Other ones stick out. The Wager by Gran, of course, was phenomenal. So there's some other. Philbrook does great work. Hampton Sides does great work. These are, if you're a sailor, those are all great authors you want to read.
Right.
But we all have the same challenge. We're not on the ship. We don't know what happened that day. We're trying to recreate scenes that we were not part of, and that is very difficult.
Well, you did a great job. Did a great job of, when there were not even speculations, but when there were elements that you weren't certain of, you were very clear about that. It was like, this is what we know from this communication, and this is what could have happened. You don't pretend to know something you don't, and I appreciate that. That was very clear throughout.
Dan, you're my first interview, as I said, on this book.
I'm really it's all downhill from here. This is all.
If I hear it 100 times, then maybe I'll get used to it. But man, I've not heard any of this yet. So that is a great relief to me, because I was very worried about being perceived as, put on a puppet show.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things I can know, and I think by taking that approach, the reader, my readers at least, seem to appreciate it. And frankly, we're not going to solve this mystery. I mean, we can get closer to it, but we can't quite close it, as we said before. And I don't want to try in that sense. So I'm glad to hear that it comes across as straightforward and honest.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to fill in all those blanks. But yes, I think that The Perfect Storm was a phenomenal book, obviously. Yeah. And then the movie, which I've seen several times as well, with George Clooney and so on, they were 95% true to the book, I think. And it comes across that way.
I would say everything but Diane Lane's accent. It kills me to this day. I can't take that seriously.
Well, the Charterhead accent, man. I know that. Number 4, Bobby Orr.
Oh my God.
You're right. There's things right. You got to get that right. So that's kind of funny you pulled that out.
Well, let me ask you this. One of the last questions. Who in your mind, dream actor for Captain McSorley?
Good question. Well, I'm connected with Jeff Daniels here in Michigan, by the way.
Wow.
Turning the Great Halifax Explosion into a play. I think he'd be the perfect grizzled old vet for this thing.
Oh my God.
And would get the nuance of the guy, because he's not obviously one thing or another. He's got, these guys don't talk that much. They're classic Midwesterners. If you say someone is competent, that is not.
That's the highest praise you can get. Yeah.
Exactly. Don't ask for more.
Yeah.
And McSorley was not a talker, and you have to, with expressions and winks and whatnot, express a lot. He's one guy I would think of course. So we'll talk about that. But no doubt, I mean, George Clooney, he probably can't do it because he's already done the Captain the last time around.
Yeah, but someone like that, though.
Yeah. Great. How about you? What do you have in mind?
Man, I don't know. Those are great choices. I don't know who could be the Captain. He's a complex figure, right? It's or like not complex, but different layers to him. So respected.
He's got a lot of shades to him that you have to get right. He's hard charging, but he's not crazy, and he's not greedy, and he's not egotistical, but he's tough. He's the greatest, they say, captain of the Great Lakes, but he was not egotistical about it. But he expected his word to be heard. All this good stuff. So you got to get it right. But
could Tom Hanks do it?
Tom Hanks has done everybody, and he also did.
I know. Maybe that's like
in Greyhound, he did a great job as the captain of that ship.
I know.
Ship.
He's played a few captains. Maybe that's too easy of an answer.
About 100 guys by now. He's plays everybody.
I know, but the respect thing, I think he could pull off kind of the quiet, respected. But yeah, that's an easy layup because he's been a captain in so many things.
Well, I don't mean to create this pun, but there's an earnestness to Ernest.
Right.
Although I can tell you this with great confidence, Dan. We're talking about this thing as a possible Hollywood screenplay. And someone asked who would play me, and I got Jim Bernstein's great line. Whoever it is a whole lot better looking than I am. So whoever it is probably better looking than everyone on the ship, because they're Hollywood. They're all good Hollywood actors. Yeah. That's what they do.
We'll wrap up on that. But again, thank you for
that odd note, right?
Yeah. Sorry. No, guys, everyone, definitely Gales of November. It's a great read to bring on the boat, and especially over the winters, you're dreaming about the next boating season. It's a gripping read. So John, thank you so much, and stay in touch. Look forward to talking to you again.
Dan, thank you very much. First one.
All right, awesome. And now a final word from our sponsor. Brand new this year, Zipwake's latest innovation is their Pro Series, which delivers 5 times faster interceptor response for greater precision and agility on the water. Its active pitch and active roll features automatically adjust trim and roll to optimize performance, stability, comfort, and fuel efficiency across all sea conditions. Additional benefits of the Pro system include balanced turn control, wake shaping, and an intuitive new user interface that adapts to real-time needs. Learn more today at imtra.com.